Hey, what's up? This is Nick with Motorcycle.com and welcome to another episode of In Gear. Today, we're getting into the weeds, specifically the adventure-related weeds. This is the Alpinestars ST-7 2L Gore-Tex jacket, and it's part of the brand's premium adventure, sport touring, and touring lineup of equipment. Now, this is a really feature-rich jacket, and it does come at a pretty hefty price tag of $739. And we're gonna find out if you get a lot of bang for the buck. But here's the thing, I actually think you do. So, why is it feature-rich? Well, first things first, the ST-7 is a waterproof jacket through and through. That's what the Gore-Tex branding indicates overall. And they achieve that by doing a two-layer laminate within the jacket itself. So instead of using removable membranes or removable layers like Alpinestars and many other brands have done in the past, they're really integrating that waterproof feature into the jacket itself. So how does that benefit us? Well, it removes layers from the jacket, makes it a little bit more comfortable to wear, and in addition, it makes it lighter. And that's sort of my main talking point for the ST-7. Overall, as in feature-rich ADV touring, sport touring jacket, whatever you want to use it for, it's a fairly lightweight jacket despite its many features. I've used it on a number of press trips where we got some pretty interesting weather, and overall, it's maintained that waterproofness. I've had jackets in the past where those taped waterproof seams will eventually wear out and start to fail. This thing has stayed true and kept me dry all along. Let's start at the top with some of the cool features and work our way down. You'll notice up here we have this almost neoprene, bit elasticy collar section right here. It's very comfortable. And on the back, you'll notice that there is a drawstring to cinch that collar up around your neck if you're faced with cold weather or wet, whatever you're coming across. Generally speaking, I always wear a little neck buff just to protect my neck against, rocks and stuff like that when you're following cars and bikes, then get spit up at you. But overall, that's another cool little wet weather related or cold weather related feature. And then as you go down and look at the jacket overall, you'll notice some of these rubber protected vent zippers right up in here. And the main zipper, although it is not rubberized, it doesn't have like a rubberized gaiter, it does have a huge flap that runs all the way down the interior to act as essentially a rain gutter. Now, related to the waterproof stuff and moving into some of the other environments that you might be faced with, of course, you're gonna be dealing with cold. So there is a removable thermal liner. You can see it right up in here, zips in and out nicely. And that has about 100 grams of padding in the torso area, and then about 60 grams of thermal padding in the sleeve area. Thing pops in and out, and it doesn't feel too cumbersome or just like you're adding layers and restricting movement when you have that liner installed. Now let's talk about heat, because really, a 4-season jacket is tough to come by. This is something that can do pretty much everything quite efficiently. So ventilation, super important here. We have vents in the upper arm sleeve area, right in here on both arms. Very easy to use and manipulate when you're actually riding. Right in the chest area here, we have these handy dandy vents right in here. And then some very smart features where this little connector point is magnetized and then clips in right there. So you get a lot of airflow in this area, and that same vent is on the other side as well. Lot of ventilation on the front of the jacket. Turning to the rear, you have more ventilation. Right up in here, big back vent, really allowing excellent airflow. There's also this large pocket back in here that is sort of that back pouch. I store chapstick, sunscreen, things like that, so I can forget about them for months on end and then they just live here. If you really wanted to and you weren't storing anything, you could use that as even an additional vent. So a lot of good positive ventilation seen in here, wet, dry, in the desert, in the mountains, etc. Very good. Overall fit and fitment. One of the main things that I like about the ST-7 is that it has pre-curved arms. And because it's not using all of those accessory layers, it fits like a normal jacket. One of the downsides to having all of those removable layers is that as you get the fitment for the jacket to be closer to you and actually fit properly, then those layers start constricting more and more and more and more. That's kind of why I don't dig jackets with a lot of removable membranes and things like that. This can offer a much closer fit. The only caveat to that sort of observation is that you do want to accommodate for the accessory back protector that you will have to purchase after the fact. At $739, I would have liked to see a, at least a level 1 back protector given to you as such, but you do have level 2 armor, CE rated level 2 armor in the shoulder and elbow areas, as well as these pre-curved arms. And just overall, the fitment is very, very good. At $739, that's what you should expect, that's what you should demand, and that's what you get with the ST-7. Related to that mobility that we've mentioned, the pre-curved arms and things like that, there are some elastic areas that's gonna allow you to just move more naturally. So when you're in that aggressive off-road riding position, you're not feeling restricted. And that definitely helps, because I've worn this jacket on many different adventure bikes, and moving around, throwing the bike around in trails and things like that, it feels quite natural. Just feels like you're wearing an average normal jacket. Then just seated in a pretty average neutral riding position, something like a sport touring bike, everything's handy dandy there as well. You're not going to be dealing with a lot of restrictions. Going back to safety, the whole jacket as a whole is rated CE level 2, and it is a AA class jacket. So not AAA, and that usually applies to more leather-based garments. This is full textile, but you're getting a decent amount of protection, and it is Tech Air ready. Now, we can say that of a lot of different Alpinestars garments, and of course, you can apply a lot of Tech Air or whatever airbag you happen to choose into a lot of different jackets, as long as they can accommodate the expansion. Thing to note with Tech Air systems, or any airbag system that you pair with this jacket, that goes back to sizing. If you're going to use a Tech Air 5, Tech Air 5 Plasma, Tech Air 7X, keep in mind that those systems are going to soak up a lot of real estate on your body. So you are going to want to be aware of that when you pick sizing. I'd recommend actually bringing a Tech Air 5, Tech Air 5 Plasma 7, whatever you use, and the jacket, getting them in a room together, seeing how they interact. Because really that's going to be kind of a make or break thing. Storage. There's a considerable amount of storage. These two pockets up front, they extend down, they have little bellowed kind of features. It's a very small detail, but it prevents things from sort of stacking up and create, a bit of a bulge in the front, as much as we like bulgers around here. You have two waterproof pockets up in here, pretty easy to use even with a gloved hand. A Velcro closure right here with a little button, and then it all folds over into this waterproof pouch. Now there is an additional vent right here, but if you have something light and not sharp, say some like ATM cards, a thin wallet, you can also kind of use that as an additional pocket outside of these two pockets. Moving to the interior, we do have one storage pocket right up here, and then we have another one right up in here. Now, these aren't waterproof pockets on the interior of the jacket, and some may want an additional waterproof pocket in the interior. That said, the entire jacket itself is waterproof, and I've stored my phones, passports, documents, things like that. Papers, please. And I've been okay. So, could it use a little more storage? I guess. That said, these two pockets are fine, and really I'm not trying to weigh myself down with a lot of stuff. If I'm on an adventure bike, if I'm on, sport touring bikes, I usually have some sort of semblance of luggage, but even then, phone, keys, wallet, I can find places for them and be a-okay. Now, a couple last points to touch on is sort of getting that fitment right. What about just getting the fit right for you? You have some adjusters up in the bicep area. Very easy to use. Strangely enough, I just keep them in the stock position. Also, you have wrist closures to adjust for different thicknesses of gloves. In the street settings, you can go to a pretty tight fit around the wrist. And when you're using those bulkier sort of winter ADV gloves, you can go to a pretty wide opening as well. So a lot of range in that area. You also have your standard handy dandy little fitment right here, just to cinch down at the waist. Get real cinched at the waist, you know. It's, chicks dig that at the gym now, I guess. But whatever. The ST-7 in a nutshell. Do I dig it? Yes. This has actually become one of my favorite adventure and touring jackets overall because of its versatility. The warming features that are in it, say the thermal liners, things like that. If you're dealing with like dual sport riding in the snow and things like that, you'll probably want a little more. That said, I often pair this jacket with just a thermal base layer of some kind. And a lot of the times I end up ditching the removable thermal liner on the interior of the jacket, and that's good enough for me. That's gonna be all subjective for you, honestly, and you're gonna have to kind of figure that out. But if you want something that's gonna be able to run rain or shine, the ST-7 is gonna work out. Now, we've talked about the jacket, and it is a very feature-rich jacket. But what else do you wear with motorcycles outside of gloves, helmet, and boots? Well, you wear pants, unless you want to commit a crime. So, the ST-7 jacket does have a matching set of pants. They are the ST-7 2L Gore-Tex pants. Now, everything you see here, or heard here, about the jacket pretty much applies to these pants in terms of its venting, in terms of its waterproofness, so on and so forth. Now, just to give you a quick rundown of the pants, you have a nice little vent right up in here, and they're highly effective. And then you have these big cargo pockets right here. Now, why I wanted to talk about the pants specifically is because they have a wider opening around the leg area, which allows you to accommodate full off-road boots or sport touring boots and cinch them down nicely. Now, they are a perfect pair to this. We'll insert the price of this, but overall you're looking at a pricey piece of kit for both the jacket and the pants. But if you're gonna be touring, you might as well do it in comfort.